ACCA technical articles. How can you effectively use them to pass your upcoming examination? Well, you're in the right company, pen and paper at the ready, because we're going to walk and talk you through how to use them effectively. And I'm just the gentleman who's going to take us through that. But Sunil, introduce yourself, my friend.
Okay, so I'm Sunil Bandari. Again, once more, welcome onto James' YouTube channel, which is marvelous. So I've been a tutor too long, yeah, since 1986. Specialise in AFM. I've also taught FM, and also happen to have written a fair number of articles for a lot of the professional bodies, but particularly for ACCA AFM. So this topic is a real favourite of mine. Right?
Spot
And
on.
if you don't mind, I'm going to use AFM as an illustration only,
Yep.
even though it can apply to any of the ACCA
Yeah.
papers. So
So
James has asked the question, the importance of that articles.
yeah, no matter what exam you're doing, guys, this is how to take them, apply them, how they're going to help you. Search for them after this video as well. But Sunil, take us through what are the first
Right.
important things that come to your mind that help students out?
Okay, so let me give you some background first of all. Articles, basically, first of all, are either written by the examining team or they are written by tutors, etc., writers who are invited by the ACCA normally to write articles. And for me, that's what happened to me. I was invited to write articles for ACCA AFM. Right. Articles, I think, split into two categories. Category number one is to enhance information in the syllabus,
Mm-hmm.
where the textbooks are good, Study Hub is good, no doubt about it, but we just want to enhance it, give a different angle, different view to it,
Yeah.
a bit more meat on the bone, if I can, for want of a better description. No offense to any vegetarians, my wife is a vegetarian. Right? Okay, and the second type of articles are application articles, where they're saying students are having difficulty dealing with a particular topic. This is how this article will help you with that topic.
Mm.
So if I can take AFM, and I'm going to take just an example of articles I've written, right, and use that as an illustration. So one of the technical articles I wrote was on Islamic finance. Islamic finance came into ACCA AFM. It was in FM on a knowledge basis. In
Mm-hmm.
AFM, it was going to come on an application basis. And back in 2011, 2012, I was asked to write an article, first article on that area. Now, that article is a knowledge article. It's probably got too much knowledge. If I could go back to it now, I'd probably edit that article.
It's
Yeah,
okay. These things happen. These things happen.
but yeah, but better more than less. Yeah, and that article was then followed up by the ACCA examiner writing a follow-up article to it. That article is a knowledge article. That's an article which you download and you learn and you read. Oh, right, okay, so that's how Sukuk finance operates. The second type of article is when the examining teams feel, for want of a better word, yeah, for want of a better description, that students need a bit extra guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So if I give two illustrations of that, I wrote an article on international project appraisal, FXMPV. And I remember writing the first one, which was for a section B question. I called it, well, international project appraisal number one,
Yeah, it's all
right?
right.
And
Don't
then
worry.
followed it up with international project appraisal number two. Yeah. But that was an article showing how effectively you could, and how to produce an answer in this particular area. Well, I think one of the most important articles I ever wrote, which to me showed a really, really big application, was on business valuations, which is probably the most tested topic I think we've seen in AFM. Now, that article, I remember when I wrote it, was a reaction to the fact that valuation questions were very regular and have
Mm-hmm.
been, and were not being answered. No, they weren't answered badly, but they could be answered better.
Yeah.
They could be improved, right? So that article was effectively there for the purpose of helping within that particular area. So those
Mm.
are how you would categorize the article. Then you
Yeah.
can do that for tax or for SBR and for the other papers. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether written by the examining team or written by writers. You've been invited to write it. The ACCA examiners will approve that article,
Yeah.
it's an article that they want. If it's approved there, it's also now mentioned on Study Hub. They mention go to this article
Refer to them,
to
have
look
a little
at.
look
Yeah,
through. I mean, when I
yeah,
failed a couple of my exams, it was just a real help. Just to come back to what you're saying, when I went through the technical ones about the specific areas in more detail, it really showed me how my knowledge in particular areas was not strong enough. And that resonated in not getting the pass mark on there. And then for other exams, you've got for like PM or taxation, they have some really good sort of step-by-step processes, like how to do an income statement on there, or how do you actually do an income tax corporate comp, or you've got variances, all these sort of things. If you're watching this right now and you've not looked at any technical articles, make sure at the end of this, pop it on your list to do. Would you
yes.
say have a look at the technical articles in the tuition stage or the revision stage, or sort of a week before the exam sort of thing?
Very good question. I would split them. I think if I was looking at the knowledge-based ones, I would look at them at the tuition phase. If I was looking at the application ones, I'd look at the revision phase. So if I was about to revise business valuation questions, I was about to
Mm,
attack those questions, I would take the article, have a read of the article. It may not cover everything that's in the questions,
yeah,
but it will give you a template, a method, thought processes, what to look for, what to read. And most of the application articles use illustrations.
yeah,
Yeah. What I think you've got to be very, very careful with, and I can speak about this particular for my paper, that just because it comes up in an article in one format doesn't mean it will exactly match in the exam in that
yeah.
format. Yeah. And I'll give an example of that. I remember the ACCA wrote an article about or basis risk for futures and options. And from my memory, they mentioned it on interest rates.
Hmm.
But the question that came up was on currency. So therefore, they were still testing the idea of basis risk, but they switched it from an interest rate to a currency area. So what you've got to be a little bit careful with that. Yeah. Um, it also doesn't automatically mean that if you get a new article, it means it's automatically going to be tested. It doesn't always work that way. It's like new syllabus areas. When a new syllabus area comes in, it normally takes time before it basically gets tested. But I'm a big advocate for having articles,
Mm.
basically split between tuition and revision. I think
Spot
they're
on.
really, really
And
important.
we may have some students who are watching this who have unfortunately maybe failed an examination. And I think the real good thing that you can do now, if you log on to your ACCA account, you can actually see the areas of the syllabus where you actually got the lowest amount of marks, you spent too much time on. And if I was in your shoes, I would then go to those particular technical article areas, have a little read through those as well, because they're pointing out the areas that you were weakest on.
Yeah. And also, when you read an article, don't read it as part of standard preparation. What I mean by that is, if you come home from work and you're going to spend 2 hours of studying, don't read an article in those 2 hours. What I'm saying is, when you're at work and you're on break time, or in the morning and you're on a train, not when you're driving, yeah, right, that you are basically going through and reading an article on your phone, flicking through, or on your iPad or whatever device. And I would tend to do it in those periods, almost like as if you're reading a newspaper, I'm reading an article.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's the time to do it. And then you might want to dovetail that with what you're going to do the next day, the day after. So if I'm thinking, I think I'm going to do FX hedging on Thursday and it's Wednesday, I think I might just read that article on hedging today, ready to attack those questions the
Yeah,
following day.
yeah,
I think
spot on.
that is.
I don't know about you when you've been dealing with ACCA students, and me particularly. I don't know what it is. I just didn't seem to read many of them when I was going through my studies. Why do you think that is? Do you find it was some students that come to you?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's time. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it's time. I mean, like that point I just mentioned about if you're sitting down in the evening and you say, "I'm going to read an article," that to me isn't the productive way of doing it. What you've got to do when you're actually sitting down and studying is do questions. If you're
Mm.
doing revision, and if you're doing tuition, obviously watching videos or going through the material. But the thing with the articles is you think, Do I really need it? Do I have to have it? Right?
Mm,
It isn't. If it's an official textbook, why should, or it's on Study Hub, why do I need to read it? Well, Study Hub references it now, so we know that it references the article. And secondly, why have them there then if they're not going to utilize them? It's just one portfolio of the services the ACCA offer
mm.
to help students get through the exam.
Spot
Yeah,
on.
it's just another, just another help and assistance.
I think, especially on topics where you're really weak on, or maybe you've been to the online or face-to-face class and you've come away and gone, wasn't quite sure on that, not familiar, sort of thing. You'd go back to the sort of textbook and see if you can unpack it a bit differently. But even the technical articles come at it at a different angle. So just keep
Yeah,
at it. Some of them can be really in depth, but they're only there to benefit and to help you.
yeah, yeah. I know, like I said, you just mentioned there, which I think is a really key point. Different angle, different view. A tutor may say it one way, a writer may say it
Yeah,
a different way. That writer may put it in a manner. I think that's a different a way I understand it. So it could work that way as well. So you
spot
don't have to
on.
do that.
Spot on. Well, thank you so much for all the insights today, Sunil. Guys, leave any comments below which technical articles you're having a look through, which exam you've got coming up on there. Any final words of wisdom, Sunil, to help a student
And
out
it,
to
look, if
pass?
look, and if you've got articles which I've written, yeah, which you could buy. If you've got any queries on them, I always say contact me. It's fine. I mean, I've got some video presentation of my articles, but also if you've got a query on my articles, just ask me. And I think if you know the writer, some writers are retired now, so you might not be able to get hold of them. Certainly on my articles, you can get hold of me. So I'll be more than happy to help you. And,
Oh, spot on. No, really appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on today and for all of your
thank you.
time. Guys,
Thank
make,
you.
make sure you like this video because it's going to definitely help out more and more people. And of course, I'm going to put Sunil's details all down below, his channel, my channel. Make sure you subscribe and we'll see you on the other side for another lovely video. But best of luck with your
Thank you,
exam.
James.